What is one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's either applying for the nursing program here or in their first 2 years trying to get into the nursing program?
You need someone to talk to and like rant or vent about something, do not hesitate to do that. A lot of people don't, and that's what makes a lot of people drop out of the nursing program or switch majors.
But you will have the time of your life here. I almost guarantee it.
Welcome back to the Tour the Nest podcast. I'm Liam Hoffman. Joining us today is Angel Rivas, Brockport nursing student and member of ALAS. Angel, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Please introduce yourself.
So obviously, my name is Angel. I'm a Brockport nursing student, class of 2027. As you mentioned, I'm also an ALAS member. I'm part of the marketing committee. A lot of the reels and the flyers that you see on the ALAS page, me and my team, that's us. And yeah, so that's me.
So tell me, when in your life did you know that you wanted to pursue nursing?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I think I've always just been I've always had this desire to help people and do something, but that's really general, you know what I mean? So my mom, actually, shout out to her, she kept on pushing me to do something because I was just in my room most of my days in high school. And I think the high school was bringing up some sort of volunteering opportunity at one of the hospitals down in Long Island. And I was like, you know what? I'll sign up for it. Why not? So I did. And just even we didn't do anything important. It was literally just going around asking patients if they wanted blankets, pillows, pens, pencils, if we needed to get the nurse for them for something. But seeing how much of a difference that a regular pillow that I would just take for granted, it meant so much for them, right? A nice warm blanket for them because they're in a really uncomfortable situation. So being there to just even help a little bit. I remember there was one lady who she had told me she was just praying for a pen and a pencil so she could, a pen and a notepad so she could write down what the doctor was saying. And then 2 seconds later, I walked in and she had a 3-hour conversation with me about I don't know, whatever. But like I said, just seeing the difference that small things like that make in their lives is really important to me. And I really wanted to do something more for, people just in, like I said, uncomfortable settings such as the hospital. So, yeah.
Did you, before that experience, were you thinking about going to college or about a certain career path or anything?
I think it definitely was. I definitely wanted to go to college for something. I was just really pushed from my family to go to college, get an education, and do something. My aunt was the only person who went to college, so she really set a good example. Everybody else was just you need to go do this, you need to go do that. So definitely did think about college, but not really anything serious up until after I volunteered at the hospital. And once I had to start applying for colleges, I think what really set Brockport from other nursing schools was it was just cheaper than the other ones. So I chose Brockport, so now I'm here. So.
And how wide was your college search when you were looking for schools?
I definitely limited to just I think it was 5 or 10 for the free SUNY week. This was the first time they had done it. This was COVID happened in 2020, 2023 I was graduating. So it was the first time I've ever heard about it. So it's kind of limiting my search to just SUNY schools who had their nursing program. So Cornell, was on there, UB, Buff State, Plattsburgh, and a lot of them said no, a lot of them said yes, but they're super competitive. I know Plattsburgh literally sent me an email saying you have to be an undecided major. Stony Brook University is one of the big nursing schools down from where I'm from, and they were oh, you have to go to Suffolk Community College first and then Stony Brook. So very competitive. Brockport was the one that also said that yeah, just come on in. So it was really nice.
Did you get the chance to tour Brockport before choosing to come here?
No, actually, I honestly just searched up pictures on the Brockport website on Google. But it seemed really like such a nice small like college town, right? A lot of like, I'm a very big nature person. That's something about me. I love my personal space. I love my personal time to just be by myself, put my AirPods in, walk around, or just, connect with nature. And seeing like, UB is it's two campuses where you need a shuttle to go to both of them. It's huge. I've been there before. Buff State, kind of the same thing. All the others were just so big for me. I was like, oh no, like I don't want that. Like, Brockport was just really like homey. So that's also another reason why I chose it, because it was just so like, I don't know, it just seems so like welcoming for like someone like me. Like I just love like being out in nature and just, just relaxing. So
yeah, I think that obviously Brockport's a college campus, but it doesn't feel like you compared it to UB, and I mean UB and Buff State are both basically in Buffalo and other schools like that too. Mm-hmm. Brockport is like, the campus is like just one part of a town and like an actual community, and there's things to do around campus and stuff, and it doesn't feel like you're locked into one place, into one campus.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Like sometimes like I will fully just walk into town just because of like, I remember the first time I got to Main Street, I like got lost and I just started walking like a little bit back and forth on Main Street, and it was just really nice because it's just like you said, it's just part of the town. It's right there. So, it's just, like I said, really a really small college town that just like makes me feel like, I'm actually like welcome there. So,
and I think another part of that is maybe underrated or not everyone thinks about is everything is like relatively walkable.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, there's other SUNY campuses where you literally have to bus just around campus. Brockport, you can get pretty much anywhere on campus within 15-minute walk.
15 minutes, yeah.
And then it's right next to the town as well. And we do have like Eagle Run and different options to take a shuttle or, public transportation if you want to. But you can also kind of get anywhere on your own as well, which I think is a really big plus.
For sure. I have fully taken my skateboard to Taco Bell and eaten my food there and like skated back. Because like you said, it's just like literally right there. Like anytime I've needed groceries, like, oh, we like really need hand soap. We really need this and a third. All right, I'll go walk to Wegmans or Walmart real quick. I definitely feel like campus shuttle is available. I know a lot of people use it. But I like to take my walks. I like to, get a lot of steps in. So
when you first got to campus, 7 hours from home, had you ever lived anywhere else besides Long Island?
When I was like a baby, I barely remember, but apparently I had lived in like Maryland for a little bit Virginia with my family for a little bit. I lived with my dad in Texas for like 3 weeks, but nowhere like long term, and especially like by myself too. That's another big thing. Like easing into Brockport was so much more easier than like if I had to live by myself at UB or another big school, because it was just so like obviously 7 hours away from home, not really a lot of support. Came in as a freshman, don't really know anybody. Just having that small town there. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with the town of Brockport. I love it. But like it's just so
don't be sorry.
It's just so small that like it was really easy to just like get into it, understand like where everything is, understand how everything works. Like I said, it was just like the really small environment, and I think with like if it's like a big like school, there's just so much like, oh, like, yeah, we care about you, and then like don't really talk to you. But like there were so many people like in power that just made me like, talk to me. They made me feel welcome. They made me feel like comfortable here. And it was nice.
Can you explain sort of the structure of Brockport's nursing program for anyone that may not know?
Yeah. So what a lot of people like don't, a lot of students, obviously, they get their schedules done for them, and then they look at it over like the summer before we go to classes. We take those classes. Everybody takes the gen eds and the requirements. But at like second year, kind of right before or like during winter break, we submit our grades and we apply for the nursing program. And we also talk a little bit about like why we wanted to go into nursing. and, you know, like I said, submit our grades and everything. And from there, they give us a response back in like March or April if we're accepted. And then from there, we go to the nursing orientation, you know, then we start getting everything ready throughout the summer before third year, because we have to get all of our vaccinations up to date. We have to get our physicals up to date. We have to get like N95 mask fitted for us. There's a lot of things that you have to do over the summer. It definitely takes a lot to like prepare for. But like, you know, that's why like it's so different than like a lot of other majors, because like one big thing is registration just passed for a lot of people. Our classes are already set for us. So like we didn't have to wake up for registration. We didn't have to get up early and choose our classes. Like they're already done for us. And then from there, your clinicals and labs, they put you in the different groups, but it's very like structured. It's very like, it's like that for the rest of the 2 years.
Can you explain for anyone that may not know what clinicals are exactly?
Yeah, so clinicals they're your lab time. They're your labs for your medical surgical class, but instead of just going to Lathrop Hall for your labs, or Smith or Leonard for your labs, they assign you a hospital. You're kind of doing like a nurse's shift or like a patient care tech's shift for about 6 hours. So, you know, you just take a set of vitals, you help the patients with whatever they need. There are some things that we can do, like give certain injections. It's like really, honestly, it's really fulfilling. Like, so far my experiences have been really good, because like, they've been like nerve wracking, but once you get into it, oh my God, you get into it.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. Definitely one of the big things to look forward to.
You talked a lot about the structure of the nursing program and how you're in all the same classes with all the same other students every day, right? Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
how many other students that you know, like from Brockport, are you in your clinical with at the same time?
The way that our hospital that we go to is built is like the wings are really close to each other. So I see like 16 people on like every Tuesday there. And obviously like a few people give me a ride. So I end up seeing like the same faces like every Tuesday. I also see them for my labs. So it kind of really helps. Like the classes that we take Monday, Wednesday, Friday are just so like, oh, like you sit in a spot and then you listen for hours. And the labs and clinicals really help you to get to know the material first off, and like your peers around you, because they're kind of the same people that like you're kind of stuck with for the rest of the semester. I'm very grateful that like my clinical and lab groups have been like really fun. I can't lie, like my labs have been super funny. Like the professors are so chill as well. Like we would just laugh about like anything, and like and still learn. We still get our work done. Really, really nice.
So how would you say that the structure of having the same couple professors and everything is sort of built to fit in with one another and paired with the group of other nursing students, how has all that combined like made you feel supported and contributed to your experience in the nursing program?
It definitely helps. It really helps knowing that the people that like you're stuck with in the mud for like for the semester and for like the rest of the 2 years, they're like always there. They're we're constantly texting each other, asking for help about this, asking for help about certain assignments, certain projects. They do a lot of group work as well, so we're always talking to people, and the professors like they're always like checking up on us. They're always walking around like Edwards, like 106 is really big, but the professors really do take their time to like walk around and like make sure that the students are okay. They're constantly making sure that like, is any questions that we have that they're answered. Definitely like the material itself is just really can get overwhelming, but like having everybody there, knowing everybody there, it really helps, and it really makes me feel like very supported. So it is a lot of material, but at the end of the day, like it flows really nicely.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing about Brockport is you get to know people so well.
Oh, yeah.
Like from your faculty to like the other students as well. Like I know my department, the journalism and social media department, I know like almost everybody that I'm in all my classes with. And you can speak to how you see this like in your program, in the nursing program. But I think like each student has their own like strengths and weaknesses. And so like when you get to know other people, you can help each other out. Like, hey, maybe I'm a little better behind the camera, but they're a little bit better at writing. So if we pair up, like we can do something.
Oh yeah,
really well.
1000%. It definitely helps knowing the people around you, so that like you said, like when you're working, like you have like different like strengths and weaknesses to each person, and at the end of the day, like it's all about working together to get through your classes, get through college, and get those degrees and make that money. So,
yes,
for sure.
So after you finish, once you graduate from the nursing program here, where do you see yourself going from there?
That's definitely like $1 million question for me. I think right now I'm at the point where I really do think about like staying up here in Rochester, even for a little bit. It's like, it's really hard to like learn all the material and learn all the techniques and go to the clinicals up here in Rochester, and then like transferring those skills over to Long Island. It would definitely be a really big change, and like something that like, because like every school like teaches differently. Like we all have to follow the NCLEX, and we all have to follow like the New York State Nursing Board, but like there's just so many different like different things that hospitals do. So it's kind of just like, I'd honestly rather just like stay here for a while, because I'm so used to this area. We'll definitely need to buy gloves and boots. That's definitely the big thing if I plan to stay up here. But I definitely see myself out of New York. Like long term, like I need to be gone. I need to be out of here. So, but yeah, what about you?
That's usually I don't get things like that flipped on me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I grew up half hour from here. I've said that before. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of love for Rochester. With that said, I've never lived anywhere else, and I'd like to at some point. Mm-hmm. I'm graduating pretty soon here, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. So for the time being, I want to stay up here. My family is here. All my friends are here. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to stay here, but I'm keeping my options open.
Yeah.
Can you explain sort of the different options with nursing? Like once you graduate from nursing here, some of the different paths you can take as far as you understand.
Yeah. So what I kind of understand from like my professors and other people who've gone into nursing as well is it definitely helps to stay on like medical surgical units, because you see everything, and like everything that you cover like in classes and more that you don't even see like is in those units. And it's really hard to branch out if you don't have that like 1 to 2 years of experience of just general like medical surgical units. But from there, like a lot of people, they definitely like I know some people they want to stay in college and graduate into physician's assistants, or maybe go on to be doctors. Maybe some people want to be certified registered nurses. Some people want to be anesthesiologists. I think for me, I definitely want to work as a travel nurse for a long time. As long as I can like work as a travel nurse and like just take advantage of that, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then after, settle down, maybe focus on being working on cardiology. That's definitely my passion. I think that the heart is just so fascinating to me, and I definitely want to work with that long term. But definitely have to get that experience up first, for sure.
What is one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's either applying for the nursing program here or in their first 2 years trying to get into the nursing program? Like, what's some advice that you would give to people like that?
Definitely take time for yourself, because whatever you hear about nursing students is pretty true. Like we are stressed almost every week, and we get those ups and downs where like some weeks we don't have much to do. Some weeks we like have zero time for ourselves. Plus, we have other responsibilities as well. So, one like the big piece of advice for any like incoming student, any incoming like first or second year is learn how to take time for yourself and how to be productive in that like time for yourself. But also managing your time and just staying strong mentally. Like, I am a very I got this. I always try to like rely on me first, but as soon as like I need help with something, like I don't hesitate, to call someone to be like, hey, listen, can you do this favor for me? Like I had my friend the other day, like I had no time the other day at all. I was busy from 6 a.m. to 10 at night. I literally had my friend, I was like, hey, I'll give you my like card. Can you go get my groceries? Like this is what I need, right? This is how much specifically, right, that it should be. And you can buy yourself coffee after, or even it's just like you need someone to talk to and like rant or vent about something, do not hesitate to do that. A lot of people don't. And that's what makes a lot of people like, drop out of the nursing program or switch majors. You're always going to doubt yourself. But at the end of the day, if you can like stay strong mentally, like I said, like they got picked for a reason. I got picked for a reason. My peers got picked for a reason. Like, at the end of the day, like we could do this. Like we could do this for sure.
That's really good advice. I think that it sounds simple, but
does.
asking for help and believing in yourself
Difficult.
goes a long way. And it's not easy.
It definitely, it really isn't. I really thought I could do it myself, but you need to have that support system. No matter like what major you have, no matter what classes you're taking, having that support system is just very important.
So about halfway through your sophomore year is when you apply to get into the actual nursing program.
Yeah.
What does it kind of take, and what can you do in the time leading up to then to make yourself as strong a fit and like as strong a candidate as possible?
I think number one is definitely getting good grades. If your grades are not up to par, like it's probably not happening. Mm-hmm. But it sounds so much like it's like this. It sounds like this big bad like program that's just like, oh, like you got to get 3.8 or you're out. Like no, like I got like pretty high grades in my first 2 years. But a lot of people, like, they got like 3.0s, 3.2s, and they're still here. Like, they're still here for a reason. So I think definitely showing those high grades, they pay attention to the notes in Brightspace. They pay attention to the work that you do. They, like, pay attention to a lot of things. So showing that you're putting in effort in the first place helps a lot, too. And also getting to know your advisors on a personal level, too, like, definitely helps, because that whole nursing program, like the staff there, like they like look through those applications, and being able to like be remembered, right? Just at the look of your name, like also really helps a lot, because a lot of people, it's a pretty competitive program. A lot of people apply. Mm-hmm. So definitely important to stand out as well.
I think that is a really important piece in any major.
Oh, for sure.
And even beyond school, I think that showing a willingness to like work really hard and put like your best foot forward, mm-hmm. and just give it your all says a lot more
than just grades.
To some people, yeah, than just grades, mm-hmm. because anybody can memorize the material on a test. I shouldn't say anybody, but you can memorize the material on a test, mm-hmm. without really trying.
Yeah.
But thinking outside the box and talking with your professors, asking them questions beyond class. And mm-hmm. I mean, Brockport really emphasizes leadership. And we have tons of programs across campus that emphasize leadership and want to instill leadership skills in us. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I mean, that's for a reason. That's going to help you for the rest of your life. I'll transition a little bit now from mm-hmm. nursing. Tell me about ALAS.
Yeah, so ALAS stands for the Association of Latinx American Students, and we're one of the cultural clubs on campus. So our events and our themes are very much based in Latin American culture. Our goal is to create events for just all students, whether you're Hispanic or not, to just come in, enjoy, relax a little bit, especially during like finals week, midterms, it's really nice to just go into a club, club an event, and just relax for a second. And our goal is to also like educate people on Hispanic heritage, So for an example, right, we had one of our events, Coquito and Coquis, right? So Coquito is a Puerto Rican drink, and Coquis are, I'm not too familiar on like what exactly it is, but it's a frog in Puerto Rico, very like beloved by the people. And, it's very important to their heritage. So we try to educate people like, oh, like, small things like, oh, like, looks like a regular frog to me. Like, it's very important to the culture of Puerto Rico. So I think like we just want to bring those type of like, we want to bring those topics to the forefront so that we can like educate people and, create a more diverse campus.
So you're on the marketing board, correct? Mm-hmm. Tell me about what you do in that role.
So on a week-to-week basis, we have our meetings and we delegate our projects. We delegate our responsibilities for the week. So, marketing, kind of synonymous with like, posting flyers, making like, videos to promote our events, promote our club. And that's kind of what we do. Like me and my team, we just like meet up a few times of the week and we kind of just like work on whatever we need to do so that we can like have these posted up on our Instagram all over the union so that people have like the awareness of our events. And it can get a little busy, especially during like our big events or our like week-long events. But it's really fulfilling, like putting in all this work, putting in like so much effort to like promote something and then like having people show up and having people like, support the group and everything. It really like, I don't know, it definitely like it makes me feel a lot better knowing that like the work that I put in like made people like come and enjoy and, just have a good time.
Mm-hmm. How has being an ALAS kind of honed your leadership skills?
It definitely like allowed me to think outside of the box, especially when it comes to flyers, because, everybody, like there's a bunch of papers, like there's papers everywhere. It's how you present that paper, how you present that flyer, what colors you use, what themes you use, what lettering you use that like really draws people. So I think being on the marketing team really allowed me to like think outside of the box when it comes to that. And also thinking outside of the box of, okay, I also have these people that also need to work with me. Like, how do we all work together? So definitely that. And also like being on the e-board, like I have to be at these events as well. And I have to talk to people. I have to be there and like discuss with people, conversate with people like, oh, like what brought you to this event? Like what can we do to make these better? So being able to, like I said, like think outside the box and actually like discuss with people about our club is really important.
How did you first get involved with ALAS?
So when I came here to Brockport, I really wanted to do something like that just wasn't like
academic.
Yeah, it just wasn't academic. It was just all like, oh, like yeah, go to class, go to Harrison, and then go to sleep. So I really wanted to do something, but for the first 2 years, it was kind of like, okay, well, I first need to like settle down.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of my second year, I started paying attention more to like the cultural clubs. I started paying attention more to just clubs in general. I'm very proud of my Hispanic heritage. I'm very proud of where I come from. And I wanted something that represents that. And then ALAS came up as like one of the Brockport like posts like the stories of like the different events for different clubs. And I saw it and I was like, you know what, like let me tap in, let me go. So it was like their formal event. It was their gala event. I went dressed up with my friends. And it was really fun because it was like, oh, like they put in a lot of work for this. Like they had a whole backdrop, they had a whole theme. It was beautiful. They had dances, they had performances, they had food, great Dominican food. It was like so much work put into it. And I was like, oh, like this is like something that I'm interested in because it celebrates my culture. It celebrates my people. and it looks fun. It looks fun. So that definitely got me into it. And once they started putting out the e-board like flyers and like, oh, we're looking for people, I was like, I know it's gonna be rough with starting the nursing program, but I feel confident I can do it. And so far, semester is almost done, and I feel like I've been able to balance like school, work, my club, and my own personal free time.
Yeah.
So, it honestly, like, once like this year started, I was like, yeah, I need to do this. I need to do this.
What would be your advice to somebody who maybe wants to get more involved, but has that kind of worry in the back of their head about being too busy or not having enough time or getting burnt out or anything like that?
Yeah. Paying attention to those like flyers and those billboards, because they're there for a reason, paying attention and seeing like, maybe even like taking a picture and like looking at it later, seeing what kind of piques your interest, and like just go. You're not obligated to go to all the events. You're not obligated to go to a single event. You're not obligated to stay there for the whole 2 hours or 3 hours. You could stay for 30 minutes. And if it's not something that you like, it's not something you like, you can leave. Mm-hmm. So definitely going in and just taking that first step really goes a long way, because from there, you're moving.
And I think another thing some people might not think about is just like kind of what doors might open just from doing something that may not seem like it would.
Yeah.
And I think it all goes back to what you said of just go. If you're interested, just go. You're really probably only taking an hour or two out of your week for the first one. Mm-hmm. And then if you enjoy it that much, you'll make time for the next meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Then, if you have an hour and a half less to study, but you had a really great time and it makes you feel better and helps you get through the week, that's exactly what matters.
Exactly, yeah. Like you said, like being able to take that first step is just really important, because a lot of people, that's what that's what I was like scared of, and I know a lot of people were. But one thing is, like, a lot of the clubs that I like, to the events that I've went to, every single one of them have been super open, have been, super inviting and sociable. That's one thing. Like, if someone is scared of like, oh, like, maybe like they won't like want me because I'm like this or like that, like, no, they want people to show up and just have a good time, go with your friends, go by yourself, whatever it is. Like, we all like just want people, like we want engagement.
At the end of the day, there's time and effort being put into putting on these events, holding these meetings. They're putting work into it. They want you to show up. They're all going to be welcoming, welcome you with open arms. And if you think you might have a place somewhere, you probably do.
You definitely do. 1000%. Like, I know we mentioned that like Brockport is such a small like town, but it's big enough for every single student here. Everybody who's a commuter, everybody who's taking online classes, everybody like in one of our clubs, like one of our members, all online, still shows up to the events. Still like, went to Club Craze. I talked to him and he just started pulling up to the meetings. And now he's on our e-board. So like you said, like if you think that you fit somewhere, you 1000% do.
So if you had to give a 30-second pitch to somebody why they should go for the Brockport nursing program, what would that pitch be?
All right, Timey. Staff, very supportive, very competitive, but like it is worth it at the end of the day. There is just there's so many resources and so much like support out here in Brockport that like, not anybody could do it, but like if you have like the willingness to do it, you could definitely do it for sure. So don't like, for any like new students, like don't be afraid to try it. And if it's not for you, then you can always switch your major at the ASC. So
I think that was 29 and a half. I counted.
There we go. Yep.
Angel, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really great to hear more about the Brockport nursing program, about ALAS, and just about your experience and how much you love the town of Brockport.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really like doing this. This was really fun.
Thank you so much for watching the Toward the Next podcast, and we will catch you next time.